How we doing, everybody? It's your guy Wardy here. It's June 29th, 2025, and we have a lot to get into in our latest Big Mets update segment. Because while, yes, we will be live later on today at the time this video first coming out for our latest post-game show, win, lose, or draw in that series finale against the Pittsburgh Pirates, so I hope to see you guys there. We have to first get into what is going on with this Mets team on the roster front, because we all know the runner and scoring position woes have continued all season long. And while we don't have the immediate remedy for that, we do know that when it comes to the pitching, that there are potential immediate remedies that the Mets can certainly utilize. Not only externally, as we're going to break down the potential of a trade for a starter, Mr. Mitch Keller, that we broke it down previously on the platform. We'll get into the current connections with the Mets, if at all, the likelihood, unlikelihood of that trade happening, especially after Keller won 5 strong innings against this Mets team no longer than 24 to 48 hours ago. It's fitting that we have that further conversation, because from there, we're going to talk about the Mets' in-house options and Jonathan, Brandon Sproat, Noel McLean. The battle of the top 3 pitching prospects. Which one will prevail? Which one will toe the rubber for the Mets next this season? Because I assure you that one of them most certainly will at minimum. We'll get into which starter out of those 3 feels like that he's most likely to be towing the rubber next for this Mets team and why versus the others. We also have some key updates to get into on the southpaw reliever and Brooks Raley as he continues to look fantastic in his rehab. And speaking of guys in the minor leagues, let's also get into Francisco Alvarez and his latest performance as he's looking far greater than he did at the major league level. But the question is, once he does get called back up to this Mets team, will he perform at all similar to what we're seeing in the minors, or will he go back to obviously being a guy that's laboring big time with the offensive upside at the major league level? And defensively, we know that there's a lot more work to do. So a lot of breakdown here in Metsland, everybody. So sit back, relax, and get ready for the ride, which is our latest Big Mets update segment. But thank you guys kindly, as always, for hitting that like and subscribe button on your way in, letting me know all your initial reactions in the comments down below. And shout out to our amazing sponsors here at SeatGeek that have you covered on the ticketing front. Head over to SeatGeek by utilizing our promo code, link down below the description, and head over there and utilize WardyNYM for 10% off your next ticket purchase. Shout out to our amazing friends at Moomoo, the official trading platform of the New York Mets, as well as shouting out our great friends here at BetUS that has you covered with everything on the sports betting front or casino. But first and foremost, make sure you guys are betting responsibly. Should you have interest, that's the most important thing. And secondly, if you do have interest, head over to betus.com.pa today and utilize our promo code YouTube150 that will give you a 150% bonus on your first deposit, $125 on your second and your third, up to $2,000 for whatever you guys have interest on betting on. And as you guys can see here, they have you covered with odds, picks, lines, props, or even questions like this: Mets trade rumors. Who do we need or want between Luis Robert, Aroldis Chapman, and Cedric Mullins? My initial knee-jerk reaction is the Mets absolutely can utilize at least 2 of these 3 players. I don't think that they need both Robert and Mullins. It's one or the other. And in the case of Aroldis Chapman, you guys know how I feel about him if you've been watching the content as well on the platform. I think Chapman to the Mets makes endless sense, as I do think is the case for at least one of Mullins or Robert. Let me know in the comments down below which outfielder via trade makes most sense to you. Should the Mets add a bat for the outfield? And on the reliever front, who would you like them to add leading up to the deadline? And thank you guys kindly for that. But without further ado, guys, let's get right into this one. And let's begin today's discussion by talking about Mr. Mitch Keller, who recently towed the rubber and did a very good job yet again here against the New York Mets. And no one should at all be surprised that we saw a guy like Mitch Keller come out and ball out against this Mets team, because sadly, this has kind of been a commonality with the Mets against Mitch Keller in particular throughout his career. And the reason for this, everybody, is a couple things. One, for whatever reason, Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso have pretty much like a combined 2 or 3 for 40 in their career against Keller. So that right away was going to be a big demise for this Mets team early on, no doubt about it. Then you add in all the other obvious factors, which is that Mitch Keller has been a rock solid, a sustainable, a consistent starter for the Pirates over the past number of years now. And the reason why we talk about Keller plenty on the platform is because of this exact reason, everybody. Keller is one of these guys that can come out and be right in the heart of your rotation right away. And we know the Pirates are selling big time. Outside of guys like Paul Skeens, pretty much everyone else and their mother is available via trade leading up to the deadline, because that's what teams north of 20 games below 500 tend to do. All the more reason as to why I have such a sour taste in my mouth after seeing the Mets falter in a horrendous, a god-awful fashion in the first 2 games of that 3-game set. And I pardon my French to everybody. But as we get into this, as you guys can see from Keller's numbers down below, in 17 starts and just under 100 innings this season, Mitch Keller does now have himself a sub-4 ERA, 3.9, with 3.96 expected ERA, a 3. 4.33 FIP, and a 4.15 SI ERA. And this all comes after going 5 rock-solid innings against the Mets no more than 2 days ago. Now, for Keller and for the Mets here, was the likelihood of a trade happening? I would actually go as far as to say that a trade for Mitch Keller, I do actually think is more likely than some other trade options leading up to the MLB trade deadline. In particular, Mitch Keller is definitely a more feasible option for the Mets than a Freddie Peralta or one healthy a Pablo Lopez, or for the fans that are still beating the drum on Seattle's Luis Castillo, among others. Mitch Keller is not a guy that's going to cost you a complete arm and a leg, but knowing that he still has at least a couple more years of control on his contract does tell you that he is going to come at a price at the same time. In the case of the Mets and what they have to offer up, they do have an abundance of options in their minor leagues, and that alone is why I could see a team like the Pirates kind of being a perfect match and a perfect pair for this Mets team because of the fact that the Mets have multiple infield options where we know not all of them are going to be staying at the major league level, at least with this team. They also have an abundance of minor league pitching options that they could potentially part with as well that are not all necessarily top prospect type, like the Tongs, like the Sproats, like the McLeans of the world. The point I'm trying to make is I absolutely see a role where the Mets could trade and hopefully will trade for a guy like Mitch Keller while not costing a complete arm and a leg. And doing so, yes, you have to give to take here, but Mitch Keller is not like the world on fire either to suggest that, oh, he's deserving of getting an ace value return. Far from it. But Mitch Keller, everybody, for those that don't know, he has been Mr. Consistent for the Pirates. I mean, if we go back to the start of the 2022 season where he sadly derailed Starling Marte that year by drilling him in the hand in Pittsburgh, which still obviously is not something that I'm happy to talk about. What I am happy to talk about, though, is a starter that has upside. And one thing that I noticed right away with Mitch Keller, when we look at his 2022 season with 160 innings pitched, we're looking at a 3.91 ERA. We fast forward to present day, a 3.9 ERA, so pretty much the same thing, while Keller's been sitting right around a 4 ERA each of the past 4 seasons now. One thing is also true about Keller, his K to walk ratio has fluctuated. He's always been dominant on securing the strike zone well. He has a 2.27 walks per nine this year. He had a 2.5 the year prior, had a 2.5 the year before that. But the K per nine in his first breakout year that we saw actually looking good as a pitcher more than just a cup of coffee was that 2022 season, but it had a 7.8 K per nine to a 3.4 walks per nine. Enter the 2023 season, Mitch Keller, in my opinion, very impressive here, a 9.7 K per nine. So the K per nine is up and the walk rate was down at 2.5. Then this past season drops a full strikeout per nine to 8.39 to 2.5 walks per nine. Now this year, he's not even averaging a 7 K per nine. He's just under at 6.98 at a 2.27 walks per nine. So while, yes, he is commanding the strike zone very well, Mitch Keller's not a guy that's going to have these endless dominant punchies for you as a rock-solid middle of the rotation starter. What a guy in Keller is going to be able to induce a lot more, obviously, soft contact, whether those are going to be ground balls or obviously flyouts to a degree as well. But Keller is just, I think, a perfect balance of what this team needs right now. We don't need a guy to light the world on fire. We would all love the Mets to go out and acquire aces, but when you go out your way to try to acquire aces that aren't really even available via trade right now, mind you, they're going to cost you an arm and a leg in doing so. But in the case of Mitch Keller, he is your perfect 3 through 5 range as a starter with potential as a 1 or 2 when he's at his absolute best. And I say potential fairly loosely because I don't know exactly how much better Mitch Keller is going to be than what he currently is. But knowing that he's only at the age of 29 and knowing that he could work with guys like Jeremy Hefner, Desi Druskel, and Eric Yagers, and his pitching lab does bring a level of confidence to me to say, hey, the Mets can do and get what they've gone out of, and guys in Griffin Canning and Clay Holmes, etc., who are far more uncertainties when it came to being a pitcher this season, that I have a lot of confidence in what they could do and utilize and work with and adjust with a guy like Mitch Keller here. But Mets fans, I definitely want to know how you guys feel on the front of Mitch Keller and if you think that he's a feasible option or not for this rotation, because I absolutely do. And the Mets have been connected to Mitch Keller loosely over the past couple years as well via trade. Nothing has materialized after preliminary discussions, but this season as well, we know the Mets are being beyond diligent in trying to add to their rotation. And we know that especially after a guy like Griffin Canning goes down now, is out for the entire season, sadly, with that Achilles rupture, that it's imperative for the Mets to make sure that they are at minimum securing quality depth. That is what great teams do. That's why the LA Dodgers, while they have more pitching injuries than any other team in baseball, will still be fine come postseason play because of the depth that they have. And their depth is so good that, their 6 through 9 starters very well could be 1 through 5 in other rotations across Major League Baseball. So Mitch Keller does bring plenty to the table. And when we break down a little bit more on his numbers here, everybody, specifically per Baseball Savant, I'm actually going to show you guys right now what they are so that way you guys can see it along with me. His Savant numbers aren't overly sexy, but they're not terrible either. It just depends on what exactly you're looking at here. But as we take a look and as we evaluate more in the Mr. Mitch Keller, you guys will see the following. All right, guys, let's go down here. 88th percentile in pitcher run value, 93rd in fastball run value, and 81st in breaking run value. But he does have the 19th percentile in off speed. Again, not known for his off speed pitches here when he has an array of a 6-pitch mix, headlined by the four-seam fastball that he's been throwing right around 34% of the time this year, sitting right around 94. The sweeper at 19%, sitting right around 82. The slider at 17%, sitting right around 87. The sinker at 15%, sitting right around 93. The curveball at 8%, sitting at 78, and the changeup at 7%, sitting at 89. I love that, guys. What do I see right away? I see 3 of the 4 S's. And what is that, everybody? What are you saying? What are you talking about here, Wardy? It's the 4 S's, right? It's sinkers, splitties, sweepers, sliders. There isn't a splitty in his arsenal, but he's got 3 of the 4 between the sweeper, the slider, and the sinker, and that's encouraging. Why? Because this is very much the MO for this Mets team and the type of pitchers that they find themselves going after. It's these kind of pitchers specifically. 82 percentile in the walk percent, 79th in barrel percent, so he's done a great job, obviously, on eliminating the barrel, but obviously has given up hard hit at a decent rate, you know, a little bit below league average in the 38 percentile. Ground ball percentage is above league average at the 66 percentile, everybody. We also do have some very random breaking news I thought I'd share. Mets reliever Grant Hartwig, who soared in the Mets minor leagues, going from single A all the way to triple A 2+ seasons ago, has fluctuated at the major league level with cups of coffee here or there each of the past couple seasons, but Grant Hartwig has been officially released out of the Mets organization, everybody. Thought you guys should know that. This comes a day or so after the Mets officially dropped Alex Ramirez, who was their former top outfield prospect a couple years ago, but has not developed at all as a 22-year-old now, and he's been dropped when he was in double A, and Hartwig was just dropped when he's been fluctuating there in AAA Syracuse. So best of luck with your future endeavors, Grant Hartwig. Thank you so much for your service when you were productive in your very limited sample size at the major league level. But getting back into this, everybody, the point I'm trying to make with Mitch Keller is he's not going to light the world on fire, but he is just a true certainty, I think, with what the Mets can be getting now. And another thing about the Pirates and Mitch Keller, I do believe that this is a world where the Mets could swing a trade for Keller before the trade deadline. Now, I'm not telling you that trade's going to happen tomorrow, but what I am telling you is that don't be shocked if you see the Mets acquire a starter before the actual deadline itself, because leading up to the All-Star break, the Mets are just rolling with what their current options are right now. That's pretty much what they're doing, and they want to see how they're going to perform heading into the All-Star break and then take things from there. But the problem that I have is that if the Mets really roll over and just kind of drag their feet into the All-Star break, they could continue to go from a team that 2 weeks ago was 21 games above 500 to now just 12 games above 500, and who knows, maybe even being below 10 games above 500 by the time that this stretch is done. It could even be worse than what I'm possibly imagining right now. All the more reason for the Mets to make sure that they have certainty on the pitching end, and while yes, it is not common for teams to go out of their way to try to make significant trades before the deadline, it's also not impossible either. So we will be keeping close eye on not only Mitch Keller with the Pittsburgh Pirates, as we know for certain the Pirates will be actually, they will be trading big time leading up to the MLB trade deadline. Everyone outside of a guy like Skeens is pretty much available, and it's a team like the New York Mets who can go in and try to take advantage of that exact opportunity, everybody. So Mitch Keller, let me know in the comments down below. Are you for or against Mitch Keller via trade? What do you like, maybe what you dislike about him? And what are other starters that you hope the Mets to actually find themselves in the market for leading up to the deadline? We've broken down plenty of starter options at great length on the platform over the past couple weeks, but we will continue to do so, including a big video that will be dropping for you guys tomorrow on the Mets off day. So make sure that you guys don't miss that. That is an important one. But going on from talking about Mitch Keller, everybody, now let's get into the in-house options, because not only do the Mets have an abundance of in-house options to consider right now, but they have 3 top pitching prospects coming off of nothing short of absolutely dominant outings that they had for their respective teams there, from the AA Rumble Ponies to the AAA Syracuse Mets. So let's go ahead and break down these pitchers, everybody. But before we do exactly that, let's just hear one more quick word from today's amazing sponsor here on the platform. And I actually, you know what, guys? Not a problem. You know what I was going to say? I was going to run something for you guys here. Let me see if I have it all set up. All right, now we do. Apologies for the hiccup, guys. And before we move forward in today's video, everybody, let's first hear a quick word from our sponsor that I'm so excited to break down, that being at Mando. Mando, the all-purpose, all-body deodorant, which I'm so excited to get into. Why, you might ask, Wardy? That's because this is a product that I've been using well before they even reached out and we've connected here to get a sponsorship deal done. Shout out to all you amazing Mets fans who helped make this possible, that we are reaching highs here on the platform, that we're getting deals with Mando. Love Mando. Love their whole body deodorant. deodorant. And if you guys don't know Mando, let me enlighten you folks, because they have a plethora of products that, mind you, are all clinically proven to block odor all day and control your body odor up to not 24, not 48, but yes, you guessed it, 72 hours. This has been a massive game changer from the time that I've used their product over this past year versus the previous deodorants that I've used. And mind you, this is not just for pits. This can be for behind your knees. This can be for, you know, the areas that we're not going to talk about. Wherever you feel like you need deodorant, that is where Mando comes into play. And with their starter pack, which I have in my possession to a degree, folks, you have a lot of the other amazing products that they have, including their normal whole body deodorant Mando stick. We have their Mando wipes, which I absolutely love. Where were these back when I was in middle school and high school, especially, where I'm sweating bullets throughout the day just because I'm sitting there stressed doing classwork and stuff? These would have been awesome to have for my pits throughout the entire school day. I digress. We got the whole body deodorant as well, which is fantastic. We have the Mando body wash here, which is so good, and one of my favorites as well, the whole body deodorant, but this time in the liquid form here. Again, all the Mando products, I cannot say enough glowing things about them. Sponsor or not, I will continue to promote this brand, and for great reason, everybody. So now I'm calling on each and every one of you. If you guys want to get in on Mando, listen up to the following, folks, and please sign up today. How do you sign up? It's by controlling the body odor anywhere with @shop.mando and get $5 off your starter pack. Mind you, that's over 40% off with our amazing promo code. You guessed it, Wardy, W-A-R-D-Y, at shopmando.com. Shout out to Mando once more for being an awesome sponsor of the platform, and thank you, Mets fans, for making it happen. All right, guys, as we continue on our it is about time that the Mets consider at least one other top pitching prospects, and we're going to break down as to why not only one of these three will be up with the team relatively soon, but why the Mets should absolutely beat this drum, and I would make the rightful argument even before the All-Star break, and here is exactly why. And let's start here, everybody, with, yes, you guessed it, as a surprise to absolutely nobody here, it's going to be Jonathan dominating yet again. And the only thing that I have to say about Jonathan at this point, everybody, is how frustrated I am that he is not called up to Syracuse Mets yet. And the reason why I say this is I've told you guys plenty on the platform over the past north of a month now that Jonathan, I'll be shocked if he is still with the Rumble Ponies by the end of the calendar month of June. Well, here we go, guys. After another month and a half of dominating baseball, the way that Jonathan certainly has for the Rumble Ponies, where he has literally nothing else to prove whatsoever, for one reason or another, they're keeping him in Double-A. And I'm starting to think that maybe I understand as to why this is. And here's what I have to say, everybody. Is it possible that the Mets could consider calling up Jonathan all the way from Double-A? I will make the argument that there is an endless benefit that comes with a pitching prospect to Ton's degree, where he needs to prove more at the Syracuse level. Because while, yes, it is important to get to the highest level in all the minor leagues, no denying that, we have seen this commonality with Mets pitching prospects, as well just in general that I've heard across the board when speaking to, you know, a lot of people not only connected to the Mets organization, but a lot of people just on more of the prospect front in general when they know getting the best out of these players. And the common consensus is that Double-A is the hardest minor league to be a part of. Out of all the minor leagues, between low A all the way up to Triple-A, it's Double-A that's the most difficult, because that is where you have more of the top prospects across Major League Baseball. And whereas when you get to the Triple-A level, it's a mix of, you know, a lot of has-beens, a lot of, you know, fringe MLB players, but just aren't good enough to be mainstays, failed prospects, and one other thing, so just, you know, true minor leaguers that'll always be in the minor leagues, those kind of things. And while that does happen at Double-A as well, it's not nearly as common in Syracuse. And I think we can all make the rightful argument that Jonathan has been unbelievably filthy. What else does this man need to prove before being considered at the major league level? Outside of just a lack of reps because he's so young in his young professional career, that is really the only true counter I think that you can make for someone like Jonathan, who just went 6 innings of 92 pitch, 3 hit, 3 walk, 1 earned run, 8 strikeout ball 2 nights ago there for the Rumble Ponies with a 1.73 ERA. Kind of a bulldog, kind of a big deal. And mind you now, guys, Jonathan, what has he done over this stretch of games? Oh, he's just casually posted a 1.06 ERA over his last 11 starts now for the Raley Ponies, including an absurd 42.4 K rate. So yeah, for anyone that thinks that Jonathan has anything more to prove at the AA level, I got a bridge to sell you at this point, because I don't really understand what else needs to be said or proven with Jonathan, who is like nothing short of masterful there for the Rumble Ponies. Jonathan is having such a dominant stretch right now that you can make the argument that this is looking more impressive than even what Brandon Sproat did to a degree last season, and even what McLean was building up. And this is not a slate on either player, but rather just a further appreciation for how good Jonathan has continued to dominate and look this season. And Ton's stuff just looks so good. League level, obviously you have the rightful concerns if he gets rocked, the same way that if you're the Mets, you have a rightful concern to say, hey, if you bring Ton up on the 40-man right now, you're burning your first year of his contract. But here's another counter, everybody, that we should not forget in the case of Jonathan. There is a belief that the Mets are going to be adamant about getting Jonathan on the 40-man one way or another this year, especially when you bear in mind that he is actually Rule 5 eligible starting this season. And that is notable, everybody, because if Jonathan is truly Rule 5 eligible at the end of this year, what that means is that the Mets obviously going to need to make sure that they make him protected. And the way to protect him, especially, is you get this man on the 40-man and get him some reps. And not to say that the Mets have to do that for that sole reason, but there are very few other reasons to suggest as to why Jonathan is still pitching the minor leagues, especially when he has been as consistently good as he has been. And talking throughout people in the industry, the common consensus again is that Ton doesn't really have much that he needs to prove should he get to Syracuse. We'll soon see what happens, obviously, should Ton get moved up to Syracuse. But all I'm telling you guys is it wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world if when the Mets do finally consider one of their top 3 pitching prospects to impact them now, that Ton may find himself in that category, potentially coming over all the way from AA. And in case you guys are wondering, Wardy, the Mets never do that. Why would they do it now? Well, they do that. They just are sparing it when they do it. The last time the Mets actually called up a starter from AA to be a starter for them, because we're going to exclude Jonathan Pintero from a couple days ago, it's David Pearson going back to the short 2020 season. Let's not forget, David Pearson, everybody, was called up from AA at the time for the Mets when he was making his debut there, towing the rubber in Boston at Fenway against those Red Sox. The Mets won that game, if I'm not mistaken. Pearson was rock solid, and things have continued from there. But Jonathan, everybody, remember the name in case you have not been paying attention to the minor leagues. The kid is an absolute stud, and we are now just awaiting next steps for him, because I'm telling you guys, when Carlos Mendoza goes out of his way to say how Blade Tidwell is the expected next turn in the order for Freddie, not Freddie Peralta. I wish the Mets had Freddie Peralta right now, but that's separate. Regarding the fact that with a guy there now down with injury for this Mets team and Griffin Canning for the year, Blade Tidwell is initially expected to be the Mets' next starter in that rotation turn in Milwaukee. And I'm sorry, even if Blade Tidwell pitches well, he's probably not going beyond 3 or 4 innings. So that alone should tell you that, okay, this Mets team should go out and either consider someone in-house that can give them more length potentially, or go ahead and add someone externally. And knowing that David Stearns is not going to be too aggressive to the point of aggressively trading for a guy unless we see it to believe it, they need to start to consider their in-house options. 40-man or not, it's about time that you get these guys on the roster. The Mets have guys that they can cut, obviously, to make this happen, to make more room, and Jonathan just feels like a guy that next step should be the major league level before maybe even Syracuse. Maybe I'm silly for saying that, guys, but I see the signs. You see the signs as well. Get Jonathan up to the big league level. But guys, if it ain't going to be Jonathan, because again, he might have to a degree the biggest uphill battle just in the sense of him not having that taste in Syracuse yet, and the Mets obviously not moving him for their respective reasons right now. But outside of Jonathan, another man who continues to look fantastic in the Mets minor leagues has to be none other than Nolan McLean. And Nolan McLean, as you guys can see right here, looked absolutely fantastic in his latest start. Again, wasn't as dominant as Jonathan, but just did exactly what you needed a guy like Mr. McLean to go ahead and do. As you guys can see, Nolan McLean went 6 innings of 4 hit, 3 walk, 2 earned run, 4 strikeout ball with 95 pitches on a 2.25 ERA in the minor leagues this season. McLean across 9 starts in Syracuse alone this year, because mind you, he started the year with the Rumble Ponies where he was unhittable, just like Jonathan, and then he was called up to Syracuse. He has now a 2.72 ERA across 9 Syracuse Mets starts this season. And what is the one thing that Nolan McLean has done better than any other Mets pitching prospect in recent history that I can remember, certainly since is covering this Mets team going back over the past 4.5 years, and that's the fact that no Mets pitching prospect has been this consistently good in Syracuse. Usually when the Mets pitching prospects get sent to Syracuse, they go to die. And the Mike Vassals, the Dom Hamels, and to a degree, obviously, the Blake Tidwells of the world, they have had far from consistency there at the Syracuse level. However, Noah McLean, not the same story. Noah McLean has not allowed more than 2 earned runs in a game in over a month. It goes back to May 15th of this season since the last time he's done exactly that. So McLean, who has that frisbee sweeper that we love so much there, a nasty multi-pitch mix that I really think is, if not the most MLB level out of the group, then close to. You know, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think Noah McLean still has the stuff that'll play up in the major leagues more than Tong and more than Sproat right now. I think that McLean, if he was called up tomorrow, would be able to be an effective pitcher for this team, either as a guy that hopefully gives you 5-6 innings or as a multi-inning relief option if the Mets really want to go there. But McLean, especially knowing that Tidwell's going to have the next turn in the order, why are the Mets not considering McLean? It's because of that very frustrating lack of 40-man spot, knowing that he's not on the 40-man. And my counter is activate this man on the 40-man, because I know that some of the at-bats that you guys are seeing right now too, I just realized might not be the prettiest right now. As a matter of fact, you might not be seeing as many strikeout highlights or stuff like that, because these were some of the only highlights that I was able to find on Noah McLean from this past night. So just fair warning, and they're nothing too sexy. That's exactly why, but still a very respectable performance that he put up. And McLean, in my opinion, should be the guy that is considered, if he has been considered already. He should be the guy that is considered over Jonathan and over Brandon Sproat. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is I think McLean has proven more than both in his sample size going from AA to AAA on the consistency front, right? That alone is why I think Nolan should be here, at least be given some looks. And while, yes, there is a risk of, oh no, I called up one of my top pitching prospects and I burned the first year of team control, but I'm sorry, miss me with the nonsense of caring so much about team control in your first year of a contract when the Mets are in dire need of pitching right now. Dire need of pitching. And not that they need to completely rush up their prospects, but you have guys that are continuously dominating at the minor league level. How much longer are we going to sit here, twiddle our thumbs before coming to the realization and reality that yes, this Mets team should absolutely be calling up one of these 3 pitchers? So Noah McLean, everybody, he's another guy where I really don't know how much more he needs to prove, because outside the fact that he's only had 9 starts in Syracuse, that's still enough of a sample size if you ask me. Bring him to the major leagues, see what he has, and if it doesn't work out, okay, you lost the first year of team control. I know the club will be very upset about that, but at the same time, if Steve Cohen and David Stearns are really going to flex the guns with the dollars the way that they so claim to do, then they will be able to handle losing that first year of Noah McLean, because at absolute worst, he doesn't perform well. At absolute best, he is a mainstay in your rotation or a multi-inning reliever for you for the remainder of the season. And that very well could happen with McLean, but we actually have to see us get there before believing such a thing to become a reality. So now, guys, going on from Noah McLean, let's get on to, last but not least, Brandon Sproat here, because I got to be honest with you guys, Brandon Sproat has just now entered a fold greater than he ever has this season. The reason why we say Brandon Sproat should be considered for the major league level as well, everybody, it's not just because of the 40-man, but it's also because of what Sproat just did. And I understand we can't be too recently biased, but at the same time, when Sproat finally looks like he's dominating, I think we see a connection as to why this is a very encouraging thing. Because in case you guys don't know, Brandon Sproat, everybody, looking really, really good. 6 innings, 78 pitch ball, 0 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, 2 hits, 3 walks over this past night for the Syracuse Mets. Now, how did Brandon Sproat perform this well, everybody? What made him get in a groove, and what made Brandon Sproat go on to having arguably his best start of the entire season or ever in Syracuse? Close to the best he's ever had for the Syracuse Mets, everybody. And mind you, he topped out 105 on the gun with the velocity. That was huge to see that velo uptick. So happy to see that, everybody. Who do I think helped Brandon Sproat in this start? Well, guys, you see who's catching. You see that nice, bright lime yellow green arm sleeve? That is Mr. Francisco Eltro Alvarez. And I'm firmly under the belief that Alvarez catching and helping call this ball game went in direct hand as to why Sproat had the success that he did. And the reason why I'm really happy to say that is that once Alvarez is back with this team, hopefully this could be a pairing of continued dominance between himself and Sproat. Naturally, they're going to have their highs and the lows in the course of 162, no denying that. But Brandon Sproat right now, seeing the sample size they just did, guys, was very impressive. Unfortunately, I don't have too many other highlights other than just the 27 seconds I got rolling for you guys, so I apologize if it's a lot of repetition here. But Brandon Sproat, who throws more consistently on the velocity front than any other Mets starter that they have to throw out there right now, especially between himself, Tong, and McLean. But the big argument has been that Sproat, while he is the biggest flamethrower, he doesn't have his pure stuff. as the other two. That's why Sproat dropped from being the consensus Mets #1 pitching prospect last year to what many believe in the organization, including myself, the #3 pitching prospect behind both Jonathan and Noel McLean. But here's the thing. Brandon Sproat's been in AAA longer than any of those three. He also has had 3 at the Syracuse level. Now, granted, Tong hasn't even been in Syracuse yet, so it's not his fault for, not doing anything there yet. But in the case of Brandon Sproat, everybody, I do think that we've now reached a point with even with Brandon, or if he maybe has another strong start under his belt with a guy like Francisco Alvarez catching, that feels like that is then the time to give him the call if it isn't already. Because especially with a guy like Sproat, who the organization probably doesn't believe to have the same exact upside potentially as McLean, as Tong, all the more reason to consider just see what he has at the big league level and go on from there. It does not hurt right now. It really doesn't. Because at absolute worst, Sproat will look more like Blade Tidwell. And we know what Blade Tidwell looks like. And we'll bite that bullet and deal with it if we have to deal with it. But the upside in Sproat is greater than Blade Tidwell. And the upside in Brandon Sproat at the major league level could be something interesting if he can get in a groove and get his confidence going. And Alvarez catching this certainly did not hurt things whatsoever from this ball game. Because as we continue to break down not only what Brandon Sproat did there, everybody, as you guys can see here, Francisco Alvarez had himself a very productive game that I want to share with each and every one of you. And I actually apologize, everybody. I was pulling up the wrong thing there. Let me see where I could find it. There it is. Here it is. I was like, where are you? Here it is, guys. Francisco Alvarez casually hit a 34-foot bomb yesterday. But one thing's very important when we break down this home run, and you guys can see it with me. Look at the swing of Francisco Alvarez. First of all, look at that front foot. Look at the follow through of this swing and tell me what you see. You guys see what I see? You guys have to see what I see. That right there. That's more old Alvy. That's more power Alvy. It's really, really hard to not notice right away the clear adjustment that Alvarez made with his swing. And this is obviously anti-Eric Chavez, maybe to a degree. This might be even anti who the guys that he worked with in the hitting lab in Atlanta that JD Martinez recommended this past offseason. But you could tell right away on that follow through of that swing that this is not the same short, compact swing that Alvarez had when he was in the majors this year. It's not drastically different, but you could clearly see the different sides there. Just look at that. Just look at that. Alvy, 434-foot pulled home run. That's another very important thing. I understand that what happens in the minor leagues is not at all indicative of what can happen at the major league level, but we know Alvarez is 2 years removed from being a 21-year-old who had 25 home runs in his rookie season or close to. We know the potential with Francisco Alvarez. He knows the potential with himself, and we know defensively he has so much more work to do because we've seen the flashes of brilliance with the framing, with the blocking ability, with the pop time, and among all these other things, and these have just all been liabilities for Francisco Alvarez, but that was a fantastic swing that looks so much more like the old on the fall. I can't get over it, guys, especially the way he dropped the hand. Look at that. Just one more time. Say it with me, everybody. Look at that. Look at that. That is what we need to see more of. So I will take that as a small victory. Hopefully Syracuse will get this man right. I don't expect to see Alvarez back up with his team until after the All-Star break, and I think that makes most sense. I don't know why you would send down a guy like him if that wasn't the case, obviously. So that's what you have there, and Mr. El Troll, Francisco Alvarez there, slugging bombs big time there that you guys see at the AAA Syracuse level. And as we talked about earlier, Brooks Raley looked fantastic in his latest rehab outing too, so that's encouraging. But folks, that is what I have for you on the latest here in Metsland. Be on the lookout for our live stream that will be happening later on today, win, lose, or draw between the Mets and the Pirates for the series finale. Also, be on the lookout for more content dropping tomorrow. We will have twofold, guys, tomorrow at minimum. We will have a video dropping earlier in the day, more on the trade-related front. I really think you guys are going to enjoy that conversation. We will also probably preview a bit of their next series, even though maybe I'll wait to do more of the preview for an update segment dropping the following day. So be on the lookout for that. Also, be on the lookout for our members-only live show. If you guys are a member on the platform, we have well over 100. If you guys want to become a member, there's a link down below in the description to check it out. You have different types of membership tiers where you guys will get different types of emojis utilized in the chat and the comments. You get shout-outs and interactions from your guy Wardy, obviously, and you get exclusive member perks, including our members-only live stream that'll be happening tomorrow evening, Monday evening, right around between 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern. I will have the official announcement on the community tab for you guys early tomorrow, this Monday, so be on the lookout for it, if not sooner. there. But for all my members, make sure to check it out. It should be a fun conversation because not only will be our latest Q&A segment with all of our members, but it will also be a call-in segment. So if you guys would like to actually call into the live stream, ask some questions, comments, and concerns, when you can really have more of a one-on-one with me, the way that you probably can't when I have thousands of people watching our usual post-game shows, this is now your opportunity to do exactly that and really chop it up with your guy Wardy more on a one-by-one basis. So make sure to check that out, everybody, should you guys have interest. And if you really have interest in really talking up more one-on-one with your guy Wardy, then you absolutely are going to love the official announcement that we have right here that you guys, again, can check out in the description down below here after watching this one. And thank you guys again for watching our latest in Mets Land. It's Wardy here, and as you can see, we are at gorgeous Citi Field, and folks, you can get the ultimate, the prime experience with your guy Wardy at our first ever official Wardy Day. August 1st, Mets San Francisco Giants there for the evening game. The day after the MLB trade deadline, you, your friends, your loved ones, select Mets fans will get the ultimate experience with your guy Wardy. Not only are we going to hang out at the ball game together, but folks, look at this seating. We're going to be live here in the left field lounge. You guys will be able to chop it up with your guy Wardy. We're going to be debating as to who's the best pitcher of the rotation outside of Kodai Senga. We're going to be talking about who's the next best prospect to get called up. How do we feel about the trade deadline acquisitions? And guys, as you get back up here then, we are going to be giving you a $18 drink voucher, and with that drink voucher, you guys are going to be able to hit up the bars that we have right outside of here. So easy, so accessible. Again, prime seating, a truly fantastic experience. Our first ever Wardy Day here at Citi Field, guys, where you will get a chance to hang out with your guy Wardy. And the best part too, not only is it this amazing lounge in left field that you guys will hang out with me, but we're going to be on the field, pre-game access there for a group photo op. So I hope to see you, all you amazing Mets fans there. Click the link if you guys haven't already there to check out our available tickets, and let's go Mets. And not only are we going to be sitting here throughout the course of the ball game, you guys can also check out these seats that we have access to all here in the bar area here, right at the Milagro, where you guys can utilize your $18 drink voucher. Again, this is going to be at Wardy Day, August 1st, 2025. Oh wait, yeah, almost forgot. It's also fireworks night. Bang! Hope to see you guys there.